what gets me going is that the thing I'm doing is very meaningful to me. I'm building this kind of ecosystem of people that work for me. And, like we're building a kind of family and community there. The retail partners that we have, like I build relationships with them. You will improve over time and you can't get everything right in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you just start focusing on one step at a time.
Honest Ecommerce is a weekly podcast where we interview direct-to-consumer brand founders and leaders to find out what it takes to start, grow, and scale an online business today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today I'm welcoming to the show Nate Davenport. He is the founder and CEO of Nebu Clothing. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Chase. I'm happy to be on here.
I'm excited to chat. And I always like to shout out where I meet people, especially it's at like a trade show or a conference. So we bumped into each other at Outdoor Retailer out there in beautiful Salt Lake City. And it was a very fun time for me.
Good. Yeah. It was fun meeting you. You got to see, I think, probably the same mannequin at the event as you're looking at behind the screen. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think you were actually one of the first people I didn't know that I talked to at the event. So just to go to show that everyone out there that's scared of networking, it's like those things are tailor-made to meet strangers.
Yes. Yeah, I met a lot of strangers.
Awesome. If I'm unfamiliar with Nebu Clothing, like quickly, like what are the types of products you guys are bringing to market over there?
Yeah. So all of our products kind of focus around this idea of multi-sport. Back when I was a kid, I wore jeans everywhere. I did it for every activity, biking, climbing all around, doing everything. And jeans, as they serve that function, they kind of are not the best fabric material to do that, right? They're heavy, they're thick, they chafe. So we kind of wanted to create products that would serve that function as like the jean, the everything, but build them better so that they actually are very functional for those activities. And so the start of our products focused around biking, climbing, and hiking, sports I did. And so our debut product was the Rob Roy. That's our evergreen product. We sell it all year round. It's our top seller. And it's the one that's on this mannequin here. So it's a good nylon blend, super, super durable. But what we wanted to make different, because there's lots of durable products, was we wanted it to be very comfortable. So it's extremely comfortable. You can wear it basically all day, every day. And it's very, very durable and functional. Then we have our B52, which is a little bit more of a niche product. It's a summer specific. I spent a lot of years in the deserts of Nevada, both climbing and working. And, the heat's brutal. And I wanted to create a product that you could feel kind of air flowing through. It felt like you weren't wearing pants, but I'm not getting sunburn. And that's the B52. So great product there. Shorts. Mojito was our first short. We wanted to focus on something that allows you to swim in the water, also go on a mountain bike or do a hike. So kind of like that focused around summer activities. And those are kind of like our core products we're selling now.
Yeah, amazing. And I in person we met and I touched the product. It's an amazing product. I'm going to pick some up here soon. You kind of mentioned the inspiration came from your life, but like when was it just like, I'm going to make a business? Like what was going on? How did this like actually get started?
So, honestly, it started forming long before I even knew, like it was there. So the first moment that I can kind of like retroactively kind of go back and think about where it started was right out of high school. I joined the Marine Corps. The military fatigues they're brutal. They're thick, they're stiff, they're poorly designed, they're baggy everywhere. And, in fact, when you're in garrison, you have to starch them to make them look nice and straight and, all pretty. And then as infantryman going like into the field in those clothes, it chafed me in ways that I still can't grow hair on the inner parts of my thighs from all that chafing. So like that part kind of stuck with me. Then post Marine Corps, I was working, undergrad, I was biology and I did a lot of field work. So we did surveys, specifically in the desert out in Nevada. So a lot of surveys, a lot of like tracking different species, just a lot of walking. And I did a lot of like outdoor stuff. So I did a lot of climbing, biking, hiking. So I had outdoor products. I used them in the field. The problem is they wouldn't really last. So they would wear out really fast. I'd have to go through 2-3 pairs of like Pranazion stretch a season. And so like that, like all those things started to build. Then I went to business school. working at Zappos in corporate finance. And we were shifting at that time. Zappos was trying to shift into apparel. So I started to see all the new apparel products coming in the outdoor space. And like, that's when it just kind of clicked that, hey, I could build this. I could do this better, I thought. And I literally just quit my job. It was the day my daughter was born, actually. And my wife had just graduated school, so she was studying for the bar. So neither one of us had jobs. We moved all of our stuff into storage, lived out of a fifth wheel for 2 years. And that's kind of what started the company. And so I guess the shorter answer is like, it was frustration, curiosity, and just kind of a desire to build something better.
Well, I love that. How did you go from I'm building this company, I want to make better products, to I have my first manufacturer sample?
That was the biggest hurdle, was definitely finding the manufacturer. And there's lots of ways you can do it. A lot of people I've talked to kind of go through these sourcing agents that help. And I don't know if that's the correct way or not. I just did it myself because I felt like I wanted to understand and control it. So I started with a very broad, just broad scope. And I think I had 20 or 30 different factories that I was having work on samples. And some will charge you money for the sample. Some won't charge you money until you get the sample. So like, you're not paying for it until they're shipping it. And some won't charge you at all. And so I kind of use that to work with all these different factories. And I think that helped me get a good understanding of like just the differences in them. How well they communicate? How well does their quality show up in the actual sample? How do they deal with changes when you have an idea, but you don't necessarily know how to construct it on a pattern or a product? How do they pivot? Or do they need very specific directions? And by having a bunch of those, you get that contrast, and it just kind of comes intuitive which ones are good and which ones are bad, even before looking at the sample quality. So then once I narrowed it down to probably 5 or 6. They were all in China because as a startup, that's kind of the easiest. You're going to get the best, probably quality, price, just overall good infrastructure. So I flew out to China, spent 2 months. This was during COVID, so lockdowns were in place. So we were supposed to, as I'm flying out there, plans were you stay in a government facility for like 3 weeks to clear all the tests. And on the flight, they lifted those restrictions. So when I got there, we didn't have to do that. So I got an extra 3 weeks. But so I would go factory to factory, and I'd tour the factories. I'd talk to the owners. And it becomes this kind of intuitive nature by having contrast of like, okay, these are things I didn't think of, but now seeing them, I know they're important. And I'll give you 2 clear examples of like where that really hit home. The first one was this. I really love this. They were like my top choice. I really love the factory. I toured it, and we're walking through the factory floor, and there's these piles of like unfinished products in different areas, like work in progress from like a manufacturing standpoint. And if you've ever read like The Goal or any of those manufacturing books, that's really bad. That's going to indicate that they're going to struggle with getting things done on time. You're probably going to have quality or QC issues. And most likely, it's going to be more expensive than other places just because of their own issues. So just that 5 minutes of that factory, I knew those guys were out. Then the other one that really stuck out to me was more of a personal and kind of relationship part. So there's 2 of them, and they were the 2 kind of finalists. One of them, he showered us with gifts. He was like, they were really good to us. In fact, when we would go visit the factory, they would send coffee to our hotel room 30 minutes before they'd pick us up. It's like you get your coffee, delivered to your door. 30 minutes later, they come pick you up, take you to the factory. Nice dinners. They bought us whiskey, all these things. But the owner had this representation of kind of like the 1960s business guy. He's sitting back in his chair, he's smoking a cigar, and he drinks whiskey all day. Why? His workers did everything. And so you could kind of tell by questions of like, he didn't understand his business as well as the workers did. Compared that to the one that we did end up selecting. When I met the guy, he shows up. I didn't even know he was the owner. He had dye all over his hands. And we get to the factory. I finally realized that he is the owner. And he was working on this new technique, I guess, this new dyeing technique. And so he literally had his hands in the dye. And so like comparing the guy that was completely hands off, the guy that literally had his hands in the business, it became really clear, like, that's the kind of partnership I want to be in. Because like when things go wrong, he's going to know. He's intuitively inside of his business and he's constantly improving. And like that it resonated more with me as a person and the values that I share. And so ultimately that's how I did it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like you said, like he is working on improving the business, and like the proof was literally dyed on his hands. He's like, yeah, we're trying out this new technique. I'm trying out this new technique, and unfortunately got it all over myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you find a partner, you get some samples, you have product, right? How do you sell it? How do you go live? How do you put it out there?
We kind of made a mistake in this area. So like, I had a business partner when I started this. You know, he's kind of didn't end up working out, so he left. But he was a builder. Like he really liked to tinker, kind of an engineer mindset. And so he really wanted to do a custom website. I didn't know anything about web design. I'd never built a website except maybe those early Yahoo websites in like the 90s, where it was like free to kind of go on and put pictures of dogs and things. So I knew nothing of like web tech. And so he's building this thing out. It's going month by month by month. I start kind of realizing we're falling behind, start researching a little bit in, really embrace Shopify. And it became clear that Shopify, for somebody who's not tech savvy, or even somebody who is, just had a better ecosystem. So the day we launched, the website we had built crashed. It just didn't work.
The custom website.
The custom website crashed. So I literally spent 36 hours. I didn't sleep. I built our entire Shopify platform. And I, again, knowing nothing of technology, or at least web technology, built this whole thing out over, essentially 2.5 days. And that Shopify makes it really easy. It does force you in a box in a little bit, but with all the apps and every little piece of it, you can do not knowing any technology. So we got the website up. We started just doing like in-person events because I didn't know anything about advertising, as far as like online advertising. And I use that like kind of in person. You're calling all your buddies, all your friends. You're on Facebook Messenger to people I haven't talked to in 20 years and saying, hey man, I started this company. Would you like to try our products? I'll give you a discount. So like that was kind of early sales. And I started, getting into the meta advertising world. How do you do this? I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm reading books. And I start testing out little ads, and I'm spending $15, $20, $30 a day. And it was pretty poor. We're losing money. We're spending $100 to get $60 in sales, kind of, bad. And through networking, like you talked earlier, I had met a few people that did that for a living, like did it for big companies, big brands. And I just started having them come over. I'll buy beer, I'll buy pizza, come over, help me out. And they helped kind of build an infrastructure in place that let me create new content, create the ads, and start getting momentum. And it's slow. And I think you just have to accept that you will improve over time and you can't get everything right in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you just start focusing on one step at a time. So like, okay, the first part I needed was, how can I create our ads, like the actual, how they're going to be serviced in a way that works? Like, how can I focus on that? What's my customer base? How am I delivering the ads, placement, all that stuff? Then I started working on content. Okay, how can I make my content better? It's, like some of my early ads, I mean, it's embarrassing. I'm misspelling words in the advertising, like in the ad. Like that's really bad. It's unprofessional. Like people pick up on that sort of thing. So then I worked on content, and then I started working on, from content, I started working through like, okay, what's the angle that I'm trying to go? Why is our product better? Why would a customer enjoy ours versus somebody else's? And how do you communicate that? Starts in the ad, kind of top of funnel. They come to the site. We built landing pages and just kind of carried that journey. How do you build trust? How do you, kind of answer all the questions that your customers are already emailing you anyway? And so it's just little by little. And I think it took a solid year before we were running ads really profitably.
Hey, everybody, just a quick reminder. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. We're releasing interviews like this every week, so don't miss out. Now back to the interview. If you could just let the listeners know, and it doesn't have to be the exact figure, but like ballpark for them, just so they can understand the investment it was to get to profitability through meta ads in the modern era. Do you have like a rough number?
Yeah. So like I would say just total ads, money we spent on ads before we were really turning a profit. And granted, some of these profits are from customers we acquired during that unprofitable period. So it is, I wouldn't say it's 1-to-1, but we spent over $100,000 in that first year.
Yeah.
On ads just to get to profitability.
Well, it just goes, it's so, unless you have that, like you were willing to learn and you were willing to get creative to find mentors essentially to help you do that. But I think that a lot of people think that Facebook ads are going to save their business, and maybe, but it's going to take potentially more capital than you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's Charlie Munger always had this the Lollapalooza effect is what he called it. And it's like you have all these small little things that are impacting a greater thing. And that's kind of how I view a lot of customer acquisition. It's like, I did 20 events this year, customer facing events where I'm selling product, talking to customers. I'm in retail shops. I'm hitting up retail people there. We're on social. We're doing ads. We have really good, strong email campaigns. And so like all these factors are really driving together to is really what's making our new customer acquisition profitable. Like I just had a handful of people from Washington do like a whole bunch of orders, the last few days. It's because we were up in Bellingham for 2 weeks doing Northwest tune-up. I was out biking. I'm handing out cards to people. And like, so all these things, they sound small, but they really, I think, add in to help create that profitable customer acquisition.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify partner directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io. You're investing in paid traffic, email, influencers, you're doing everything, but your store's still not converting like it should. That's the hidden cost nobody's talking about. If you don't know why people aren't buying, you're constantly losing money. Whenever conversion rate optimization comes up with brands, the first thing I ask them at the agency is what they are using for analytics and behavior tracking. Heatmap.com is my go-to recommendation because it's the only platform I've seen that connects user behavior directly to sales. That kind of visibility is critical for e-commerce brands trying to grow. I tell every brand that we work with to install Heatmap. It shows you what's working and what isn't using real behavior data tied directly to revenue. You get live heat maps, session recordings, funnels, and attribution down to specific product pages. This isn't just another analytics dashboard, it's a revenue optimizer. And right now, Honest Ecommerce listeners get the hookup. They get a 14-day free trial. They get access to their ultimate 150-point CRO checklist. And as a bonus, you'll get a free setup by us over at Electric Eye. when you ask for us to do so. So stop wasting another dollar guessing. Visit heatmap.com/honest. That's HEATMAP.com/HONEST and start seeing what your customers see, because clarity truly equals revenue. If you sell big, bulky, oversized products on Shopify, I'm talking saunas, reformers, ping pong tables, exam tables, you know the pain. Your cart can't automatically show the real price to deliver that product. So maybe you guess a flat rate for your shipping, or there's that obnoxious email us for a quote button, and the buyer just doesn't purchase. That's why FreightRight built the world's first solution to make merchants' checkouts freight ready for heavy goods. Quote less, ship more. With FreightRight installed on your Shopify store, your customers see the true cost of shipping, including options for white glove or curbside, lift gates, appointments, even taxes, duties, and tariffs, all automatically calculated for any buyer anywhere in the world. Behind the scenes, FreightRight books the carrier, generates the bill of landing, dispatches, tracks, and writes the actual shipping costs back to the order, so finance isn't staring at a $0 line item. Prefer to offer free shipping domestically? Go for it. FreightRight automates the operation behind the scenes. Sell in other countries without local fulfillment facilities or distributors. Ship direct to consumer from your warehouse or even from your factory with accurate landed costs and reliable delivery times at checkout. Quote less and ship more with FreightRight. Make big and bulky finally buyable on Shopify. For the first 50 listeners to get set up with FreightRight before Black Friday, FreightRight will actually cover the first $500 in shipping costs on orders that are fulfilled through FreightRight. To take them up on that offer, go to FreightRight.com/honest. That's FreightRight.com/HONEST to get your free customized quote and start selling your best sellers around the world. Visit FreightRight.com/honest today. That's FreightRight.com/honest. Absolutely. And I think the more I do these podcast interviews, the more I hear about founders getting out there to in-person events. The way that they talk about their business is almost night and day, with just like they have this underlying faith that like there's enough goodwill out there to weather many storms.
Yeah. And honestly, most of our events are profitable if you do it right. The Northwest Tune-Up was like barely break even, but most of ours have like a 3x return. So I get 3x in sales what my costs are. And that's kind of the market I target.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned so much there, like the website crashed, you rebuilt it on Shopify. Obviously, we're big Shopify fanboys here. You know, are there any other mistakes looking back on kind of building this thing, or just any other insights that you'd like want to point out for the listeners?
Yeah, I would say the biggest mistake I made that almost sunk the business was just, so it's this idea, you start a company and there's this vision or, you know, like picture in your head of what a real company looks like or what a real e-commerce business looks like, right?
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You got the warehouse, right? You have your your inbound, your outbound, your logistics all set up.
We got business cards.
We got business cards. We got, like all this software because I can track, to the minute of when my packages leave the facility and get to the customer and like all these things. And so we were building too much fixed costs, and fixed costs really should look at it like everything I add now. I look at how many products do I need to sell to cover that cost a month. And we got to the point where that was part of one of the bigger parts of why we were losing money, is because we just had so many fixed costs. So I ended up because we ran out of money, more or less, I moved all our fulfillment to my garage. So I do it out of my garage, and I can do 50, 60, 70 orders like over a big weekend. You might have close to 100 orders. I can do those in 2 hours or less out of my garage. It's like a break from my work. So now I'm not paying $1,500, $2,000 a month for a warehouse. I moved all of our excess inventories in a big storage unit. It's really cheap. I just weighed the price of insurance versus safety of the storage unit, and went through all of our software. And I said, okay, what software is giving us a return? You bucket into those categories. Okay, Klaviyo is a great example. Klaviyo email gives you a return, right? I'm making way more than it's costing me for Klaviyo. But is there a cheaper option than Klaviyo? And I found there was. Now the quality and the ease of creating the emails was kind of a bit of a trade-off, but Klaviyo charges you per profile, right? And emails you send. So we were spending a lot of money by shifting over to another software, which we use Yotpo, and now we're going to Redo because they have a better kind of interface. We're saving, I don't know, a couple $100 a month. That's huge. So that was that bucket. Then software that didn't have a return on like an investment for us. Do you need that software? Some of it, yeah. It's like you need accounting software, right? You need to have your books. There's no price. Like you need to have good, clean books. But there were cheaper options. And so I literally cut everything. I shifted from Adobe Illustrator as our kind of like premier design platform to Affinity. Affinity is a one-time fixed cost. I don't have to pay a monthly subscription. And that, we reduced cost almost 95% fixed cost.
Yeah, there is out there that I read, it was a couple years ago, and that's why I'm kind of drawing a blank on it. And it was a really quick read. And I'm going to remember it the second this is over. It's probably on my bookshelf over there. But it was kind of around just like how to I think it was like how to double your profit. Yeah, double your profits in 6 months or less by Bob Pfeiffer. This book is just no fluff, all just kind of shitty stuff. But like, it was like, some of it was smart. It was like, just cancel things and see if it matters was like some of his advice. Because like if some people won't complain or, so like finding ways to find profit within the business, but some of it was getting more creative of like renegotiating deals or just asking for discounts. And some, but it's a really quick read. You could knock it out in an afternoon. But fixed fees, you definitely harped on those in there. And we also at our agency are always just like, is the juice worth the squeeze on this thing?
Yeah. So that was really, I would say, be as cheap as possible. If you run a lean business, you can weather any storm. And there are storms, as we see this year specifically, they come out of nowhere, so.
Absolutely. Now, I know that you guys have kind of a unique development process for like making new products. Could you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, we actually literally just went through this last night. So like last night we were just had the team together. We're going through like the roadmap of like what products we currently have in the pipeline, what do we currently have that we're selling, and what do we want to like kind of add to it. And I think what makes us unique, well, actually, I don't know because I haven't worked with other brands, but the process I use is I don't want to create some new novel idea that serves kind of a niche function. What I want to do is take a product that is used a lot. People already value that use case for that product. And can I make it better? And better can be, simple as, can I make it better quality? Is there features that we can tweak to kind of make it, maybe more streamlined, more functional, or is it a price to quality issue? I'll give you an example. Like one of our product in the line now is for spring of next year is sun shirts. The reason we decided to do sun shirts was because, you could spend $200 on a sun shirt and get a really nice quality fabric, has all the bells and whistles. It's everything you need. It's perfect. If you go to the $60 price point, it's more or less like, it feels like a neoprene wetsuit that's just a little thinner and a little stretchier.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it feels kind of cheap. And so the opportunity we found was, can we create a sun shirt at that $60 price point that feels like the one at the $200 price point? And we're going to have to sacrifice on some features to get that to work, but we did find some good fabric, and I think that we can for sure hit that mark. So once we kind of get like the product type selected, okay, we can make this better. It's in our system. We can, what we call Nebu it, we can make it better. We start with material. So fabric is the first part. And it's honestly the hardest part of the production because fabric will make or break everything. And there are probably millions of different fabric swatches. And I personally have a hard time telling the difference between a lot of them on the little squares. So I'll try to find some of it's through like different testing features. Okay, so I want breathability, and they'll show you the stats. A lot of factories will show you the stats. So we'll do that. We'll select a handful, and then I will get just a basic template made in that fabric. It's like our first sun shirt was literally just a sun shirt. It had nothing. It didn't even, like, the fit wasn't even that great, but I needed to feel how the fabric felt on your body when you're moving around, you're doing those things. So once we lock in fabric, then we move on to kind of like features. Like, what are you going to add to this product? What are things that people want? And like, I use two kind of tests. The first test is there a real use case for that feature? And I go back to my time at Zappos, where we were getting new product, and it, like, some of the features were, to me, seemed like designed to sell to the retailer, not to the end user, the customer. And so I wanted to make sure, okay, is there a real use case that our customers will use? And then the second one, and this one is almost as important, or if not more important, is if somebody doesn't use this feature, will it get in their way? Will they even notice that it's there? And if you get yes to those, you move on. And so I'll give you an example of, like, that you don't know it's there. Our knife pocket on our Rob Roy, it fits, it's like right behind your hip bone before your butt cheek. It's like a little pocket there. And if you're wearing a knife, you could literally, like, fall asleep in your pants, in your tent, with your knife in your pocket, and you wouldn't even notice. But if you don't use a knife pocket, if one of our customers who doesn't use a knife pocket, I'll bet they don't even know that exists, or certainly don't remember that it exists. So that's kind of like the feature aspect of it. We want our designs to kind of be invisible, so to speak. And then after that, you get the samples, right? You get your samples, you start testing them, and a lot of your ideas, when you get them in a sample and you start using them, don't work necessarily the way you think. A lot of iterations happen post that first sample, because like, we tried to do these cell phone pockets similar to the Rob Roy's on our mojitos. The fabric we wanted with the mojitos had to be a thin but durable nylon, had to dry really fast, had to be really lightweight. And so that came in conflict with having a good cell phone pocket, because one, the cell phone pocket made it kind of thick, but it also moved around a lot when you're, like, doing things. It became a nuisance. So we had to scratch it. We had to cut it out, figure out a different solution. And we ended up doing these, like, what we call text sleeves inside the front pocket. It's a sleeve that your cell phone or your wallet or whatever fits in. It kind of holds it there in place. So that way you can, when you're running, jumping, climbing, biking, it's staying put. And so we kind of do that. That process takes the longest. At the end of the day, we get the product. Even though we've invested all that time, we all sit down and we look at it and we say, okay, is this better? And can we sell it at a price point that we're either beating people on quality to price or beating people on quality? And if the answer is no, we just scrap the project. If the answer is yes, then we're off to the races.
Yeah, that's amazing. That might be the deepest we've gotten into product development in quite some time on the podcast. Now oh no, it's perfectly fine. We've talked about a lot today. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
So, like, I would say the last bit is just, if you are thinking of going down this path, or maybe you're on this path, for me, the most important piece, like, there's all these things you're doing, and it's hard work and it's complicated, and you can learn, I promise you can learn just about anything to a high mediocre standard in 6 months or less. Like, it's just in just about anything. So don't worry about that side. But I think the purpose, or how you would view your success, is probably more important. And everybody says they want to build a big company that sells a lot of things. And sure, that may be a symptom of your success for sure. But if that's your motivation, I don't think it's actually going to work. And you may not necessarily know your motivation in the beginning. I certainly kind of thought I did, but it changed. And so for me, success, and what kind of gets me going and because this is way harder than my corporate job. I make way less money. It's way more stressful. So there's no benefits trade-off there. But what gets me going is that the thing I'm doing is very meaningful to me. I'm building this kind of ecosystem of people that work for me. And, like, we're building a kind of family and community there. retail partners that we have, like I build relationships with them. I had a guy that works at one of the shops that we're in. He's literally out hiking. He finds this big rock, looks like the Nebu logo. He decides to go get Nebu engraved on it, takes it to the shop, and it's now in their store. So you're building these kind of like meaningful, impactful things for people. And, your customers, to me, are kind of the most value I get out of it, is like getting that impact of a customer when somebody says, they send you a long email about why they love the product, what problems it solves for them, and they're just like thanking you. Like that's big for me. And I'll give you a pretty cool story of a customer I met the other day. He's not even our demographic at all. He's not what you would typically think of a customer. He's just kind of a customer because of his name. So his name is Rob Roy, which is like the same as the core product, right?
Yeah.
And so he reaches out to me. He's like, hey, I saw these, or my friend called me and said, you got to try these pants because they have your name on the tag. And so he buys the pants. He reaches out to me. He just writes this whole tangent about how his family's from Scotland and the whole story of Rob Roy, which I already knew from the beginning. And he was like, I have this bar in Seattle that I go to every 2 years, and it's called the Rob Roy, and I get a Rob Roy. And I'm like, cool, can I join you? And he was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So we coordinated, and I went up to Seattle. This is like 3 weeks ago. And I sat down with him in the Rob Roy in Seattle with Rob Roy. We were both wearing the pants, and we had a Rob Roy, and we just got to chat. He had to tell me, there's different things that he loved about the product. And again, he's not the demo. He's not our customer base at all. And he still had things that he loved the pants for. And so it's like stories like that kind of give you the inspiration to kind of keep pushing. And I don't think money is going to solve that. Money's not going to be the answer. So I would just say, figure out what intrinsically motivates you. And if you can find that, then you'll be successful.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, we've talked about how awesome these products are and how much labor of love you've put into them. If I'm listening to this and I'm intrigued and I want to learn more, I want to check out the products, where should I go? What should I do?
I'd start at our website, nebuclothing.com. That will get you essentially a little bit more about the brand. It'll get you all the product info. If you live in Ogden or Utah, we have a bunch of like retail shops. I'd highly encourage you going to them. Just send me an email, support@nebuclothing.com, and just send me an email. I'll answer anything, point you in the right direction.
Awesome, Nathan. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was awesome.